Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let me ask you something. What if the biggest obstacle to finding love is actually looking for it? I know, it sounds crazy, right? But today, we're going to dive into a pretty radical idea about love that might just unlock what you could call your own secret superpower. I mean, really think about that for a second. Everything tells us to go out and find love, right? To search for the one. But what if that whole chase, that constant search, is the very thing that's holding us back? It kind of flips everything we've been taught on its head. So this really breaks it down into two totally different mindsets. You've got the receiving love camp on one side. This is where you're kind of waiting for love to come to you. And you can see where that leads. Scarcity, anxiety, feeling dependent. But then look at the other side, generating love. This is an active approach. You are the source. And the results? Well, they're the complete opposite. Abundance, connection, and real empowerment. And that whole focus on receiving love, it often comes from this thing called emotional scarcity. Basically, it's this deep down feeling that love is, well, scarce. Like there's only so much to go around. A lot of times, this can come from not getting enough emotional support when we were younger. So what happens? We end up constantly looking for other people to tell us we're worthy, to give us that validation. This feeling of scarcity, it creates what you could call a love deficit. It's like a wound, an empty space inside that we spend so much of our lives trying to fill. And we try to fill it with love from other people, which just makes us completely dependent on them to feel okay, to feel whole. So the big question is, how do you heal that wound? How do you fill that deficit from the inside out? Well, that's where the work of a really fascinating expert comes in. Let's talk about Dr. Michael Lukens. Okay, so Dr. Lukens isn't just anyone. He's a clinical psychologist, a serious emotions theorist. His major work is this multi-volume book called The Physics of Emotioning. And get this, he specializes in some of the toughest areas out there. We're talking addiction, trauma, and repairing relationships. His whole framework is about understanding the forces that drive us, and it all ties back to his really unique take on love. All right, so here's the what. His whole approach starts with a really crucial first step. He basically says we need a new definition of love. We need to stop thinking of it as some mysterious feeling that just happens to us and start seeing it as something we actively do. And he has a name for it. Committed Benevolent Interest, or CBI for short. Now, I know that sounds a little academic, but the idea behind it is so powerful. It's about shifting our whole perspective. Love isn't something you just fall into anymore. Nope. It's a choice, a deliberate active choice you make day in and day out to be invested in someone's well-being. And you break CBI down into three really simple, powerful parts. First, there's commitment. That's just the choice to be there, to show up consistently. Then you have benevolence. This is just a fancy word for goodwill, genuinely wanting the best for the other person. And last, there's interest. This means being truly, deeply curious about who they are on the inside, about their world. Okay, so that's the what, committed benevolent interest. But why? Why is generating love like this such a game changer? To get that, we have to look at the engine that drives his whole theory. He calls it the physics of emotioning. And the core idea here is totally revolutionary. It says our emotions aren't just things that happen to us. No, they are the primary motivational force in our lives. They're the engine that creates our intentions and drives everything we do. Our feelings are literally what makes us act. Here's a great way to think about it. It kind of flips that famous old saying on its head. It's not, I think, therefore I feel. It's the other way around. I feel, therefore I think and act. See? The feeling comes first. It's the starting point for everything. So let's connect the dots here. If our feelings drive our actions, and we can choose to generate love using CBI, then what does that give us? Well, it gives us what you might call a secret superpower. It's the how. It's how we actually do this. Because when you start choosing to generate love, you completely shift from that scarcity mindset to one of emotional abundance. You stop being a passive consumer, just waiting around for someone to give you love. Instead, you become the source. You create it. Okay, to really bring this home, Dr. Lukens uses this perfect, kind of funny analogy. Just imagine this. Your dog, who you absolutely adore, comes bounding up to you, so proud, so happy, and drops a special gift right at your feet. It's a dead squirrel. So, how do you react? What's your gut reaction to this, gift? Well, if you're looking with what he calls unloving eyes, right? Eyes that are just focused on how gross it is, you just see a disgusting mess. It's a problem you have to deal with. You feel annoyed, maybe even frustrated. But what if you look with loving eyes? What if you choose in that moment to generate love? Then you see past the messy package. You don't just see a dead squirrel. You see what your dog intended it to be, a gift, a pure act of love. That's committed benevolent interest right there. And that right there, that's the whole point. That's the superpower. Choosing to generate love from within gives you a kind of X-ray vision. It lets you see all the good enough love that is already all around you, even if it comes in, well, messy, dead squirrel-shaped packages. So that leaves us with a final thought, a question for you to take with you. What's the dead squirrel in your life? You know, what clumsy, imperfect, maybe even annoying thing that someone has done for you could actually be a huge act of love if you just chose to see it with loving eyes.